So, till now, we are done with a lot of things. We learned about how Selenium works on page source, how we analyzed page sources as well. We analyzed page source in Chrome, but this works the same in Mozilla as well. This works the same in Internet Explorer as well. We learned about tag and attribute matrix, and we learned the difference between ID and name attributes. We also learned about class attributes, right? Now, after that, we learned about web element interface and we made a basic Selenium script that worked for us. In the ending, we had a question: what if two elements have same ID? Now, this is one of the rarest things that can happen, but yes, this happens very usually these days because what developers want is they don't want other people to fiddle around with their code. This is something that this is a practice that developers are, say, implementing these days. So this means that you suppose you have an element on a page. Suppose you have a button on a page. So say this is that particular button that you would want to have access to, right? Now there is another button on the page which has the same ID. What is the ID? Say I have the ID as, say this one is having a ID btn1, right? This is also having the same ID btn1. Now what you can do in this case, there are a lot of other elements on the page that I'm not showing right now, but suppose there are two elements which share the same ID. Now in case if you would want to have access to the element which has the ID button 1, what would happen in a first instance whenever Selenium tries to access the page? Can anyone tell me which button will Selenium code will be accessing? This one, the first one, or the second one? Any guess?
The first one.
Yeah. So by default, Selenium will be accessing the first one. What is the reason behind it? The reason behind it is very simple. What Selenium does is it starts scribbling the code. It starts reading the code from the beginning, right? This means that it will be starting from the top left corner and then it will be going to the top right corner and it will be going line by line. So this line, then this line, right? You getting my point? Now to reach this element, it has to come here, then it will be going to this particular element. Now what happens is that when it starts reading out the elements on the page, it finds the element which matches the criteria. This means that the criteria has already met. This also means that we need not to go to this particular point. The element is already found where? At the very beginning of line number 2, right? It will not go move further. Now let us have another example. Suppose there is a text box. This is the text box. There is another text box and there is a text box here, right? And one here which is a bigger one. What happens is that this text box is having an ID of, say, text 1, right? This is also having an ID and it is having an ID text 2. This one is having an ID, say, search box. This is also having the same ID, search box, right? Now here, what Selenium will do? Now we need to have access to the element which is search box 2, right? Search box. Now in that case, what Selenium will do is it will start looking for the elements and the same way it will look one by one, line by line, and it will go something like this. Once it reaches the point where it finds the element that we require. What element we require, right? It depends. Here we require the search box. Will it go further? No. It has already found the element. It will return that element to us and it will be performing actions with that particular element. Now, what if you need to deal with this particular element? What would you be doing, right? There is no direct way to deal with this particular search box or this particular button. Now, to deal with these, you need to keep few things in mind. That is, how would we be able to move further? How would we be able to access these things? Right? This is one of the main questions. Accessing these is easy, but the thing is that the way we used to retrieve elements now won't work there. We need something that helps us in retrieving the elements, that helps us in reaching these two elements as well, even if there is another element with the same ID, right? This means that we need something. What is that thing that we need? That is XPath. Now here, what the question is, what is XPath? Why do we need it, right? What is XPath? Now, XPath is something that we call as, it is the address of the element on the page. This means that any element on the page, for example, here we have this website, right? That is say rediff.com, right? We were dealing with this rediff.com, so let's go with this particular page. And here we have this username field, right? We have this password field. We have this username text. We have this password text. We have these links here. We have these news here, right? Each and every element on this page has its own address. Question is, say, what's the address, how to get that address, and how to deal with that particular address, even if we have it, right? The first thing is, what is that address? How would we be able to find that particular element's address, right? Finding an address is very easy. So, what we can say is that XPath is something, say, which provides the address, and finding the address is easy, as I told you right now. How it is easy? Let's see that. Control Shift C. Let's highlight some element. Suppose I would want to have access to this particular element, right? You may be noticing something here. There is a structure involved, right? There, there are some elements. They have some, say, inner elements, and there is a tree going on. There are some steps involved, and in the ending, we are reaching to a point where we have the element with us, right? We already know that what is the input tag, what is the significance of type, what is the significance of ID, max length, and other things, right? But the thing is that this element is nested somewhere inside the code. Now, to reach this element, what we have to do is that we just need to do something that helps us in finding that particular, reaching that particular element, right? So here we have this element here, and here we have it, right? Now, the thing is that how we have this element and how would we be able to access it? Accessing it is very easy. Notice few things here now. Let me just mark the color as red so that you guys can read it. See, we the parent element is HTML tag, right? This is not working. Let's just quit it and open it once again. I think so. I accidentally closed the overlay here. Now, here, say we have this parent element, inside this parent element, we have multiple children, but majorly there are two children. What are those children? Let us just see that. So here we have two children, that is, say, head and body. Now the thing is, with the element that we would want to have access to is inside body tag, right? So what we did, we got inside body, right? Now here, inside this body tag, there are multiple elements. If you notice something, there is a script tag, there is a div tag. The first thing is we know that the tag that we would want to have access to is under div tag. So we'll get inside div tag, right? Now once we got inside div tag, we got to know that, oh, there are a lot of other tags as well. The element that we would want to have access to is inside the first div tag. So we'll get inside this one. Now we got inside this one. What happens is that again we got to know that there are a lot of other tags. There are one, two, three. There are three div tags inside it, right? So what we did, we got inside the first one again, and we got inside the first one again. Then here we got to know that there are other elements as well, and we have multiple elements here, right? So we need to get inside the second one, and we got inside second one. So here we've got inside the second one. Then inside that again we have multiple elements. So we will be getting inside the first one, that is the form tag, and then this tag, and in the ending we are getting to this particular point, right? What's the logic here? See, in layman terms, what I would say is, suppose you're living in India and you are living in some city or in some place where a letter has to reach you. The person who is sending a letter is from US or some other country, right? Now, how that letter will be delivered to you only by just providing their address, right? So, how it will be, say, reached to you specific, you can say that, say, street as well. Now, the thing is that the address is something like you specify the address like, okay, the country is India. Inside India, we have a state. We specify the state. For example, we specify the state as Chandigarh, right? Or we specify the state as say Maharashtra. So we are getting specific now, right? For example, HTML is India. Then we are specifying the state. Maharashtra is body. Okay, we have reached to Maharashtra. Now the next thing is we specify the district. The district is Pune. So we got inside Pune. Then inside Pune there are multiple regions, right? There are multiple areas. Now we specified a specific area. For example, there is a area A. So we specified the area A. Then inside area A, again we specified that there is a street number this. So we specified the street number, say Z. We specified the street number. Then inside that street number, we specified that this is the society name. Then inside that society name, we are getting inside the, say, tower number. Then inside the tower number, we are specifying the floor number, then the, say, flat number, and then the room number, right? So the structure, you're getting the structure. In the same way, the addresses is inside, say, HTML pages or websites work. Okay. Now here what happens is that now we do not have such kind of addresses here, but yes, the pattern is same. This means that we can have the say address of a element easily, right? We can have element address of any element that we would need to. For example, I would need to have access to this particular element, right? Now, how would we be able to get the say the address of this element? We can simply right click on this particular element. We can go to copy, and we have an option of copy XPath and copy full XPath. Right now, I'll go with copy full XPath. Now, if you notice something, I have a XPath with me. Let me just paste that XPath here. increase the font size. And here the XPath is this, right? It is a bit longer right now. So, okay, it is fine now, right? So this is the XPath. What does it signify? Simply start reading from the top, from the beginning. There is a HTML tag, right? Inside that HTML tag, there is a body tag. Inside that body tag, we have a div tag. Inside that div tag, we have the first div tag that we need to access to. Then there is another div tag, the first div tag that we have to access to. And inside that, there may be multiple div tags. We need to access to the second one. Then inside that, we need to have access to the form tag, then the div tag. Inside that, we have a div tag again. Inside that, we have a div tag again. And inside that, we have a div tag again. And in the ending, we have an input tag. Now, this is the complete address of the element. What do we say it? This is a complete XPath, right? Or you can say that, say absolute XPath, right? Now we have this complete XPath with us. Let us just do one thing. Let us just try accessing the element with the help of this particular XPath. Here we have this code with us. Let's do one thing. Let's just create another package and another class. So here, new, say class, and we have Rediff home, say, or say Rediff login, and we have the package. This is day 5. So we have specified two things. Let's just create a new class. The class is created. Now here, what we have to do is that first of all, we need to have, say, a main method. So main method here. Now here inside this main method, what we need to do? First of all, we need to open the browser. So driver equals to new Chrome driver. Let's go with Google Chrome browser, right? The next thing is we need to get to the page. So driver dot get. We'll paste that URL here in some time. I'll just keep it empty right now. Once we have opened the page, what we need to do next? We need to find that element and deal with that element. So here, web element, say username field equals to driver dot find element by. Now what is the mechanism that we would be using? The mechanism that we would be using is xpath. So xpath. Now we need to specify the expression. So the expression that we copied, right? This is the xpath expression that we have to use. We have found the element. What's next? We need to deal with this particular element. So username field dot send keys, and I would like to send some data here. What data I would like to send? Say 1 to 0, right? A random text. Let us just do one thing. Let us just try running this code. Now, whenever I'm running the code and I'm not clicking here on the run button, this means that I'm using a shortcut. What is that shortcut? The shortcut is Control F11. In laptops, you may need to keep your F key pressed while, say, pressing F11. You can modify that as well. You can simply Google it on your machine. You'll get to know that how to, say, keep the Fn key always pressed, and you can change the shortcuts, right? But you can go with this same method here. I can see that, okay, I forgot one thing. I forgot to specify the URL. What is the URL? The URL is this. Now here, let's just close this browser window and here specify the URL, and then we'll start running this code once again. So here control F11, the code is executing, the browser has opened, it will be taking us to this particular page, and you can notice something, it has typed the username here, the username that we wanted to type, 123456789 0, right? Now here, what has happened actually? So what has happened is the code opened the browser, it took us to this particular page, then it tried to find the element with this path we specified. It went through the instructions, went through the specific instructions, and it found the input element. It returned that input element to us, and we were able to deal with that input element. Right? This is one of the XPaths that we can use. There is another XPath as well. What is that kind of a XPath? Let us just see that. Now here we have this password field. Control Shift C. Let's highlight this element. This is the field. Input type is password, ID is password, and we have the name password, and we have this, right? Right click here, go to copy, and we have an option of copy XPath as well. What is the difference between both of these things? We'll get to understand that in some time. So here, if I paste this XPath, you can see that this XPath is drastically short, way too shorter than the XPath that we had for, say, username field, right? What does this XPath tell us? So here, first of all, this kind of XPath is known as relative XPath, right? Or you can say that partial XPath, right? So it depends on you what word you would want to use. We use these two terms for this kind of XPath. What does this XPath denote? This denotes that, okay, find a element which has the ID password. Retrieve it for me. Why? Because there is only one element with the ID password right now. Let's just try accessing this as well. Let's go back to the code. And here, notice something now. I will be writing the code, but in a different way. We are trying to find the element driver dot find element by xpath, right? The xpath expression. So this is the xpath expression. Notice something. It is adding some backslashes. Why it is adding those backslashes? Because it wants the code to know that, okay, there is a say double quote. Let us just replace double quotes with single quotes so that the code doesn't get confused at all. Okay, and here we have found the element. Now what if I try doing something? I try specifying the send keys method here, right? So dot send keys, and here if I specify something, the same text once again, would it work? Let us just see that. Now here you can see that the browser is opening, it will be taking us to the same page, and it has typed in the username and the password. What has happened here? First thing, it found the element with this particular XPath only. Second thing, it typed the text. Now you can notice a difference here. We were finding the element, we were storing that element in a variable named as username field, then we were accessing that particular element. What if we just have to access that element only once? We don't have to reuse that element again and again. Why we are wasting two lines of code when we can write the same code in a single line? So what I did here was I just tried to retrieve the element, this particular highlighted part. Okay, this highlighted part told us that, okay, there is an element, I have found that element. And the remaining part told us that, okay, you have found the element, let us just type the data inside, send the data to it directly. So both of the things, both of the actions are done, are handled in a single way, right? Now let me just move to the Java perspective so that I don't have to see a lot of unnecessary things here, right? And here we have this thing with us now. So here, this is working for us. This is also working for us. Let us just do one thing. Let us just modify this part of code as well for the same thing, right? And here, Control C, Control V. And here I'll modify this code for me. I'll remove this say part and I'll specify this part as this dot send keys. It will be sending keys, but I need not to allocate this data to the web element now. Everything is being done in a single line here as well. I've commented out the code above. Control F11. Let's see that whether it is running or not. Okay, so we have got to know that this is working fine. Okay, this is done. Now coming back to the main topic. What is the main thing? The main thing is what is the difference here and how it is working. Okay, this was the complete path where we specified each and every part of tree, right? But the thing is that suppose you are sending something to a city that is Delhi, right? Would you be specifying the district and say the tehsil and the ward number? You don't need to specify the state as well. You can specify only Delhi and then you can specify the remaining address, right? Maybe you can specify a landmark, for example, Qutub Minar. There is only one Qutub Minar in the whole world, right? So if we specify Qutub Minar, India, it will be say easy for everyone to get to understand. Okay, there is something in Delhi in this area, right? You don't have to go through the complete path. Okay? You don't have to provide the complete instructions. You can specify the partial thing. Here, this is the partial thing. What is it? It can be bifurcated into multiple parts. Let us just discuss this part because we will be discussing this part again in some time, right? So let us just discuss the relative XPath. Okay, right click here, copy XPath. I'll paste that XPath here in a bit larger text. Why in why this bit larger text? Now because I will be bifurcating, I will be dividing this thing into multiple parts. First part is this, right? That is, what is this double forward slash? Next part is, what is this star, right? Just a second. It won't work here. So yeah, we'll go with this one only, right? So this is the second part. Now here there are multiple other things as well. We have something known as say square brackets. Then we have at the rate. We have some ID. We have some designated value here, right? Then we have the closing tag. Okay. So here we have multiple things. First thing, what is double forward slash? This tells us that anywhere inside the tree, right? Next thing is star. Star. What does this mean? Any tag name, right? So this will be any tag name. Let me just specify the targets, right? Anywhere inside the tree. What is this at the rate? At the rate means that attribute, right? Then the attribute name, and this one is the attribute value, right? So here we have a lot of things here with us, but say what we discussed about few things, but we missed out something. That is the square brackets. Why do we specify square brackets? This means that we are specifying some additional information to the tag name. This is the tag name, that is star. Can I tweak it a bit? Yes, I can tweak it a bit. Here, if I specify the tag name as input, will it work? Yes, it will work. And you can see that it will be working super fine. You can see that the browser has opened, it has typed in the username and the password. This is what we intended to do, right? So what has happened here? It tried to find the input tag, then which has the ID, password, and here it worked for us, right? Now here the thing is that how does the upper XPath work? How is it working for us? Let us just decode this XPath as well, right? Decoding this is very easy. How? Let us just see that. First of all, I'll get here and I'll remove everything from my screen. I'll paste that text path that we have with us. Control Z. Let us just paste that text path in red color so that we will be able to recognize it later on as well. So this is the XPath we have, right? Now in this XPath, you can notice some pattern. HTML tag, right? Let me just point out things from here. HTML tag, then body tag, right? Div tag, this div tag, then div1, this div, right? Then again div1, this one div, right? This top bar. Then the second div is this one. Inside that we have the form tag. This is the form tag, right? Then again div1. So this is the div1. Inside that we have the div2. So this is the div2. Don't get confused with the arrows right now. Just keep a track of the arrow that I'm going to, right? Let me just remove all the arrows, right? We have got to the div2. Then we have the div1. So here this div1 goes to this particular one, right? Inside that we need to have access to the second div, which is this one. And in the ending, we are accessing the input tag. So it is going step by step, right? Question is, how would you be able to generate your own XPath here? Let us just go through with this one, right? Suppose I need to have access to this element which has the ID login1. It is a input tag, right? So here it is a input. I'm reverse engineering this one right now. So whenever I'm specifying a tag name, I will be specifying a forward slash before, a reverse slash, backward slash before that. Now this input tag is inside a div tag, which is the second one that I can see right now. So div square bracket 2. This is the second div tag, right? Inside the second div tag, this is inside the div tag, which is the first one. So div first one. Why am I specifying the div number when I know that this is the first one? There may be multiple div tags. Let us just go with the, say, worst case scenario. We may be having more div tags there as well. So here we have got to this particular point now, right? This particular point. Now this div1 is inside div1 again, or div2. It is inside div2. So div2. We have got to this particular element, that is div, which has the class table. This is inside div1 inside form. Here form div1. Now we have got to a location that we wanted. We have reached the form tag. Okay, form tag is inside the second div tag. This is simple. Div2. We've got this location. This div2 is inside the div1. So div1. We have got to this div tag as well, right? This div is inside this particular div tag. So here div1, right? Now we have got to this particular div tag, which is again inside a div1, right? And did I have div2, div1, div1, div1? Okay. Here div1. I thought I missed out something here. Okay. We have got to this particular div tag, which is inside the HTML tag of, and say body tag, which is inside HTML tag. So backslash HTML backslash body. So here, this is the XPath that we have for us right now. Let us just copy this. Go back and paste it here. Okay. It may be a little bit different, but yes, it may work for us. Let us just see that. Control F11. Here, it has not worked. Why? Let us just see that. Invalid selector exception. I have specified an invalid selector. Unable to locate element with the XPath expression HTML body div1, 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 div2. Okay, I may have made a mistake. How can I check whether this element, the element that we wanted to have access to, was correct? Control F when you are inside this particular screen, and you'll see something on the top or on the bottom which allows you to find by string, selector, or XPath. Control V, and you can see that, oh, I have made a mistake somewhere. Where is that mistake? Finding that mistake is very important. Let us just go through the things once again. I may have specified an extra div, or I may have missed out a div, right? Let's go through with this once again. So I'll delete this. First thing first, HTML tag, and you can see that HTML tag is getting highlighted here, but is not highlighted right now. Say HTML body. Body tag got highlighted. Inside body tag, we need to have access to the first div tag. So div 1, right? Inside div tag, we need to get access to the first div again. So div 1, right? Then again, we need to have access to div 1. So we've got it. Then div 2, right? Inside this div 2, we need to have access to the form tag. So we have got inside the form tag, right? And here we have this form tag with us. What's next is we need to have access to the first div tag, right? Here we have to find this div tag. So div, right? Which div tag? This is the first one, but there may be multiple div tags. You can find them here, right? One of two. This means that there are two div tags. Let us just specify one here, right? Now we have specified number one here. This means that the first div tag that we want to have access to. Inside this particular div tag, we have multiple div tags, but I'm aware of two. I need the access to the second one. So here, div 2. I got access to the second one. Then inside that, we need the access to the first div tag. So div and here 1. How can I decide whether we need to specify number 1 or not? You can see that it is telling us 1 of 2. This means that we have multiple ones and we need to specify the first one. So we have specified the first one. Now here inside it, we need to access to the second one, right? So here forward slash div 2. Now we have got to the second element. Inside this, we need to have access to the input tag. So this is the XPath that we have generated. Let me just match it with the XPath. Maybe I made a mistake somewhere while generating. the other one, right? HTML body div 1 1 1 div 1 1 1 2 div 1 1 1 div 2, then div 1 div 2 div 1 div 2 and then input. Okay, maybe I've made a spelling mistake somewhere. Let us just ignore it right now. We have the correct working XPath with us. So here I can specify it directly here. This will be finding the element for me and this will be working for me. It doesn't matter whether you're specifying the say backslashes or not. Let's just run this now. Control F11 and here you can see that this XPath is working for us, right? Going back now, let's close this browser instance and here let's just close this browser instance as well. Now here we have this XPath. Now the question is, can a single element have multiple XPaths? The answer to that question is yes. One single element can have multiple XPaths. For example, the one we generated, right? This is a different one. Control Z. Let's specify the text size is this, right? We have this XPath. This is not the only XPath that we can have. We have another XPath. Right click here, copy, copy XPath, and what we got is this. So immediately we got two XPaths for the same element. So first question is busted. Next thing, can a single XPath point to multiple elements? Yes, it can do that as well. How? Let's just see that. A very basic example. Double forward slash A. It will find all the anchor tags on the page. So there are 115 links on this particular page. And we can have access to all these links on the page, right? How it is doing? It is simply trying to find each and everything on the page. This means that when I told you earlier, Selenium tries to find the first one, it tries to find the element, it finds the first one, it leaves it, right? Yes, it does that. But we can ask Selenium to do such things as well that it finds multiple elements, right? How it finds multiple elements, we can see that in the coming lectures. How we can handle multiple elements. But yes, still XPaths point to multiple elements as well. We can deal with the second one, we can deal with the 15th one, we can deal with the 100th one as well. It all depends on us which element we would want to deal with, right? Dealing with the elements is very easy. Now here we are done with a few things. We are done with what is XPath. We are done with why do we need XPath. We have not installed XPath checker. We will be installing it later on, but I don't want you guys to rely on something that is unreliable. I want you guys to generate your own XPaths here. Then we will be generating XPaths manually as well, that we will be say working with in the coming lectures, right? Can two elements have same XPath? Yes, we just discussed it right now. Can a single element have multiple XPath? Yes, we can have multiple XPaths for the single element. We can generate as many XPaths we would want to. We will be learning about generating XPaths in the next lecture. Then you will be having a clarity about the things that how the things are going around here, right? Now, when XPaths change variable IDs, right? Would we be able to handle such situations? We will be discussing about these two things in the next lecture, and after that we will be once you are done covering these things, we will be moving forward with few things. One of the important things with the say discovery of elements on the page, right? And then we will be having say exercise which we will be doing in the next lecture, right? So here, this was for today's lecture. What I want you guys to do is, I want you guys to log in into Facebook again, right? But a few more things now. So here, facebook.com, and here you need to specify your username and password, right? And in case if anyone is getting a prompt of accept cookies, I'm not getting that right now, so I don't know how it looks like. But in case if you guys are getting a prompt of say cookies, you need to find the XPath of that particular accept button as well, and you can try automating a click on that, right? Provide your credentials. Once you have provided your credentials, you will be taken to a screen something like this. Once you have got to this particular screen, what you have to do is that you need to decide which button you would want to click. You need to click on this button or this button. Both of these buttons take you to the profile, which is your profile, right? Once you have got to this particular profile, once you have got to your own profile, go to the link, that is friends link, and here try searching for an element. For example, I would want to search for Vinay. You can see that there are some names listed. It may take a little bit time for listing out the name, but yes, it will be listing out something. Don't know why it is not listing out here. Let us try Gaurav. You can see that it has listed out 7 8 names. You can try finding your friends here. You can try specifying a name, right? Let's try Vinay again. Maybe it was not working that time. Yes, it was not working at that time. Now it has found the friend with the name Vinay, right? So a very simple and basic exercise. Let us just brief the exercise once again. Here, what you have to do is that open Facebook, provide credentials, then open, say go to my profile, then friends, then search for a friend, right? So this is what you have to do. We will be discussing about this in the next lecture, how we can do this. But I want you guys to practice this once before we go through with this particular exercise, right? Any questions, guys?
Sir, I did not get the means if two elements have the same X path, then how it will recognize? I misunderstood. I did not get it.
See, two elements can have the same XPath. It just depends on us. How would we be accessing that second element, right?
Okay.
Try these things that we have discussed today. Try the XPaths that we have discussed today. We have tried accessing
Okay.
two elements with the help of XPath in different ways, right? Try accessing
Oh,
these two elements first, right?
okay.
Then
Oh,
we will
in
be
this.
discussing about how we can handle multiple elements with the same XPath and how we can say go to the second one or the third one or the fourth one. Okay.
Okay.
Any other queries?
Abhishek, do we normally use the full XPath or the the shorter one?
See, we
Yeah.
neither use the full XPath, we neither use the nor we use the say we we don't use any kind of XPath here. We use the third kind of XPath, that is customized XPath. So it is a hybrid of full and partial, right? We will be learning about that in the next lecture. You need to try this say exercise with both of the ways, the full one, the partial one, and then we will be discussing about the third hybrid way, which we will be using usually, because one of these two ways may fail every time. It is not sure that the XPaths that you generated today will work tomorrow. It is not at all sure. But yes, once we start learning XPaths, you'll get to understand that how we can generate stable XPath which will work for us. Got it?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Thanks.
Yeah. Try it once. Try it once. We'll discuss this thing tomorrow. That how we can handle, say, customize XPath and how we can generate our own customized XPath as well.
Sure. Yeah.